Even in 2026, the Mafia has continued to be involved in a broad spectrum of illegal activities. But the right question would be, does the Mafia still exist today? Traditional Mafia presence and activities have waned since the late 1990s, but they still exist, though they keep a low profile. In certain industries such as gambling, drugs, restaurants, and bars, they maintain significant influence. Today's Mafia families and their businesses are far more brutal and calculated than the fictionalized versions depicted in shows like The Sopranos or Goodfellas. Gambino family. The Gambinos have long been the most powerful of all Mafia families. They've been in the headlines multiple times in recent years. The major stories include the continued leadership struggles and the ongoing federal pressure that has decimated their upper ranks. Street Boss has become the new title for the highest-ranking family member not behind bars. Domenico Little Dom Cefalu remains the official boss of the family, but he's been semi-retired for the last several years. At 78 years old, Cefalu has stepped back from day-to-day operations, leaving the administration in the hands of younger members. Lorenzo Menino has emerged as the acting boss, overseeing operations while Cefalu maintains his position in name only. Menino, 66, has been with the family for decades and survived multiple federal prosecutions. The Gambinos are not even 50% of what they were in their golden days. But even what's left of them equals a Mafia family that's nowhere near extinction. They still have their hooks in local construction, in various other industries, both blue-collar and information-age crimes. Construction rackets alone bring in enormous profits, with Mafia-connected companies winning bids for major projects throughout the New York area. There is likely to be fierce competition for power among the Gambinos over the next couple of years. The Mafia rarely kills each other in today's society, but a battle for control over the country's top Mafia family could produce a street war. Whoever takes over the family, not everyone is going to be happy. Genovese family. With all the attention surrounding the Gambino family lately, the Genovese family is sure to capitalize. They are involved with low-hanging fruit like narcotics, but they also have a well-diversified stream of income. They have significant money invested in bookmaking, loan sharking, and labor racketeering. A good number of their higher-level guys operate freely. What helps the Genovese family is that they tend to have more peaceful leadership changes than the other families. When the other families are spending time infighting, the Genovese continue to grow, staying under the radar as much as possible. With the Gambinos in turmoil, the Genovese family appears poised to become the top Mafia family in the country, a spot they've held before. Their current acting boss is Liborio Bellomo, a man who was around back during Cin Gigante's reign. Bellomo, now 70, has maintained control despite multiple prison sentences and federal indictments. Bellomo has proven remarkably resilient. He was released from prison in 2008 and again took the spot back after acting boss Daniel Leo went to prison. Since then, he's managed to avoid major prosecutions while keeping the family's operations running smoothly. The Genovese family controls significant rackets in New Jersey, the Bronx, and Manhattan's West Side. Their influence extends into Connecticut and Pennsylvania as well. Bellomo and the Genovese are operating strongly in the shadows. They've learned from the mistakes of flashier bosses like Gene Gotti and maintain strict discipline among their members. The days of flashy bosses dining at high-end restaurants and courting publicity are over. Today's Mafia leaders understand that invisibility equals longevity. Colombo family. The Colombo family is now turning a page after 4 decades with an imprisoned Carmine the Snake Persico as boss. Longtime imprisoned boss Persico died in 2019 after pulling the strings for 30 years behind bars. In an expected but greedy move, Persico named his son Alphonse Alley Boy Persico acting boss. Alley Boy is serving a life sentence. So, the decision only makes sense in that he was keeping the power within his family. The current street boss is Andrew "Andy Mush" Russo, who at 90 years old remains one of the oldest active Mafia leaders in America. Russo has been with the family since the 1970s and survived multiple internal wars that nearly destroyed the organization. They still operate in factions, but at least they're not currently at war, something the Colombos know too well. The family has seen multiple internal conflicts over the decades, making any period of peace a welcome change. The Colombos remain smaller than some of the other families, but continue their operations in traditional rackets. They control operations in Brooklyn, particularly in the Bensonhurst and Bath Beach neighborhoods. Despite their reduced numbers, they remain active in loan sharking, gambling, and labor racketeering. The family has approximately 100 made members and several hundred associates. They've managed to rebuild after the devastating wars of the 1990s that left dozens dead. Gambling operations, both illegal casinos and sports betting, remain highly profitable for the family. Loan sharking continues to victimize desperate borrowers who can't access legitimate credit. Bonanno family. The Bonanno family currently is a bit larger than the Colombos, but only half the size of the Gambinos and Genovese. Their current boss is Michael the Nose Mancuso, who served 10 years for killing his own wife in 1984. He pleaded guilty to a mob-related murder in 2006 and got 15 years. He was released in 2019 and immediately reasserted control over the family. The Bonannos have always benefited from a close relationship with the Gambinos, and that still exists today. Several Bonanno and Gambino members were charged with narcotics trafficking and loan sharking in FBI stings over the past few years. It's not as often these days that two mafia families work so closely together. The alliance gives both families added muscle and expanded territory. Mancuso has Joseph Camarano Jr. as his underboss. Camarano was acquitted of racketeering and extortion charges in 2019 and has remained free since. The consigliere is John Porky Zancocchio, who was also acquitted in the same case. It's likely that the Bonannos are going to prosper since their upper echelon are all free men. With leadership on the streets rather than behind bars, they have more flexibility to conduct business and adapt to law enforcement pressure. The Bonanno family controls significant operations in Queens, the Bronx, and parts of Long Island. They're heavily involved in the restaurant and bar industry, using legitimate businesses to launder money from their illegal operations. They also maintain strong ties to Sicilian mafia families, particularly the Zips crews that operate between New York and Palermo. These international connections give them access to heroin trafficking routes that other families lack. Lucchese family. The Lucchese crime family was founded nearly a century ago and continues to operate today. They've had more than their fair share of setbacks, but survived because of their ability to operate mostly in the shadows. The Gambinos and Genovese families have traditionally drawn far more FBI attention over the years. Lately, however, the Lucchese are feeling the heat. More than 30 of their members and associates have been nabbed in federal stings since 2017. The boss is still Vittorio Little Vic Amuso, who has been in prison since 1992. Amuso is now the longest reigning boss the family has had, maintaining control from behind bars for over 3 decades. At 90 years old, Amuso continues to issue orders from his federal prison cell through intermediaries and family visits. The family has at least 7 crews with significant territory in Long Island, Manhattan, the Bronx, and New Jersey. Amuso has named Michael Big Mike DeSantis as acting boss, overseeing operations on the streets. The underboss is Stephen Wonderboy Crea Jr., who runs the powerful Bronx faction. Crea and his crew control lucrative construction rackets in the borough. Amuso informed them years ago that DeSantis was their new boss, and if they didn't cooperate, they'd be killed. This kind of direct threat from an imprisoned boss shows that even behind bars, these leaders maintain iron control over their organizations. The Lucchese family has proven that leadership from prison is still effective when the boss commands absolute respect and fear. Despite the arrests and prosecutions, the Lucchese family continues to generate income through construction, garbage hauling, and the traditional rackets that have sustained them for decades. They control several labor unions in the New York area, giving them influence over major construction projects. They're also heavily involved in gambling operations, running sports books, and illegal casinos throughout their territory. The reality of 2026. The activities of these families continue as we speak. They may not command the same fear and power they once did in their heyday, but they remain active, dangerous, and profitable. Federal and state law enforcement continue their pressure, but the Mafia has proven remarkably resilient. They adapt, they evolve, and they survive. The five families of New York remain the most powerful La Cosa Nostra organizations in America. Their influence extends beyond the city into New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Florida. They have connections with other crime families across the country and international criminal organizations. The modern Mafia operates differently than it did in the days of Gene Gotti or Lucky Luciano. They keep lower profiles, avoid the media attention that brought down previous generations, and diversify their criminal enterprises to include white-collar crimes alongside traditional rackets. But make no mistake, they are still here, still operating, and still dangerous. The code of silence, the oath of loyalty, and the willingness to use violence when necessary remain central to their existence. Recent years have seen murders, beatings, and arsons carried out by Mafia members enforcing discipline or eliminating rivals. The violence is less frequent than in previous decades, but no less brutal when it occurs. The families generate hundreds of millions of dollars annually through their various criminal enterprises. As we continue to bring you more content like this, remember that organized crime is not just history. It's happening right now in cities across America. The five families may be diminished from their peak, but they remain entrenched in the criminal underworld. New generations of made men continue to take the oath, ensuring these organizations will persist for years to come.